Hello and Jai Hind, everyone. I am Major Mohammed Ali Shah. I have the proud privilege and honor to be in conversation with two Northeast specialists and two very, very senior gentlemen who know the Northeast part of India, the back of their hands. And of course, they need no introduction at all. You all are familiar with them. You have read their work. You have seen them speak on various public platforms. Yes, we have General Konsam Himalay Singh and Mr. Jaideep Saikia. Lieutenant Konsam Himalaya Singh, PVSM, AVSM, UISM, VSM, is Northeast India's first three-star general. He commanded his battalion in the Siachen Glacier, commanded brigade, div, and corps in Delhi and Jammu and Kashmir, respectively, and is considered to be one of the most knowledgeable, neutral, and respected persons in the country. Mr. Jaideep Saikia, again, you have seen him earlier. He continues to hold the nation's and the region's breath with not only his finesse, but earth-shaking analysis and prognosis on about almost everything that ails from his present thought on the Northeast and other things as well. His cutting-edge summations have brought him closer to a goal that Almighty has ordained him for, and his future is speculated to be the future national security advisor of India. I would say that, sir. Welcome to the show, sir. Jai Hind.
Jai
I
Hind,
would
Jai
like
Hind.
I would like to ask the general, sir. So several months have passed, since the unrest erupted in Manipur, and of late there have been imposition of present rule in the state. But never concerns have surfaced about the reading of the situation. Now, how can it be salvaged according to you, sir?
I didn't hear your last part.
Sir, I said, there have been a lot in Manipur that's been going on. There's been
Yeah.
present rule, and of late, and the new governor, Mr. Bhalla, took over. There have been arms which have been surrendered back, some of them. So, what could be, according to you, the way forward now, sir, from here?
Thank you, Major Ali, for having me here in the company of Jaideep Saikia. Thank you very much for the brilliant introduction, particularly for Jaideep Saikia and self. Uh, Major Ali, President's rule was imposed about a month and a half, and various measures are underway. At least that is my understanding. Underway. Some have not fructified as planned, but many are in the planning and also execution stage. This is what I understand from ground zero. That is, I live in Imphal, in the suburbs of Imphal. So I can say that for now. But to your question about what is the way ahead, first of all, I'd like to say that the approach of the new administration, that is governor's rule or central rule, I think so far is on right track. That is disarming. I think I have said it in your channel some time back. That has to be the first action. So disarming, uh, it didn't have the impact that it was desired, but at least a little acceleration of the process, I believe, took place during this period. Uh, the second part was the opening of highways. There is a saying that if the goods don't cross the borders, then the armies tend to cross the border. It actually implies that in a very connected, economically connected and integrated society, we cannot afford to have the highways and such like things stop, even the air traffic and such like that. So the second initiative was taken to open the highway, but unfortunately it didn't. see uh, very positive results due to some apprehensions on the mind of some people that whatever it is, you're aware your channel has been covering Manipur very, very frequently. So it didn't succeed. Having said that, again, I would like to again re-emphasize that um, the popularly elected government had to resign. They failed. I mean that's why the PR came in the first place. Now we Indian state cannot be seen to be not working or cannot be seen to be non-functional. So we have to make sure all stakeholders have to make sure that it succeeds. So it is a little early to say when will it succeed, how will it pan out. Um, so those are issues which we can discuss later. But my bottom line is that having imposed PR, now the momentum of the initiatives must be maintained, because if it fails, then I think the people will have the perception that Indian state has failed. So that is why it is extremely important. And as far as the initiatives which are under process, like I am told that many civil societies and CSOs, they're um, underway to chat or at least have a sitting dialogue kind of a thing to begin with, along with certain other harder options as well. So this much for now we can discuss as we proceed. Thank you.
Right, sir. So thank you so much. That was very, very lot of insights you threw upon that, sir. So I asked Mr. Jaideep Saikia, who I can see very smartly wearing his commendation card, the Eastern Army Commander's commendation card, and the Director General Assam Rifles commendation card, which looks very, very familiar to me. In fact, both of them look very familiar to me. Sir, firstly, once again, though it's been a while, but I congratulate you once again because you're looking more handsome wearing this commendation card, I would say, sir. Sir, I would like to ask you, in your view, a team of Supreme Court judges went to Manipur just recently, sir, a few days back. Do you think that would have served as a balm? Do you think it would have helped in any way, sir?
Oh, yes, certainly. As the general has very rightly said, and all of us are aware that this impasse in Manipur has been going on for quite a while, longer than it is necessary, really. The Indian state probably, to my mind, as a neutral observer who is very, very concerned about the happenings in Manipur, realized that the executive and the legislature sort of were not able to deliver as you said, the balm which was required to bring usher in peace. So the judiciary had to step in, and this unprecedented visit by, I think, 7 Supreme Court judges to Manipur to assess the situation on the ground and to have gone to relief camps, etc., I think was a little bit of a confidence building measure for the people of Manipur and for the rest of India. However, I must also say that I was a little confused or a little I was not able to put a finger as to why one of the judges, I think he was Justice Gawai, made a statement that, Manipur can be solved by taking recourse to constitutional mechanism or means. Now, since he didn't spell it out, I'm still at sea as to what these constitutional mechanisms could be. To my mind, of course, if I were to hazard guesses, and I'm sure the general will be able to tell me better about this because he hails from Manipur, and as you said, he is the foremost expert on Manipur at this hour of crisis. The constitutional mechanism could, to my mind, and I can sort of hold forth on it at a later stage in this discussion, could be talk about special provisions within the constitution by making amendments, requisite amendments, so that the concerns of the people who are warring at this point of time, that is primarily the Meiteis versus the Kukis, and of course there are a plethora of other groups as well. And as we know, other ethnic formations like the Mars have also entered the fray, could be one way of actually trying to constitutionally act and salvage the situation. I really do not know. I will talk about it later if you ask me, but I would really actually throw this question to the general and ask him as to what this constitutional mechanism which Justice Gawai actually referred to without having spelled it. If he has spelled it out, I have not been able to read about it or have been able to understand it. But
See,
yes, it was certainly a
are you
bomb in the direction of peace.
are you addressing the question to me?
Well, in a
Yes, sir.
way, yes, because Major Ali asked his question as to whether I feel it was a soothing balm. I certainly think so, because it was an unprecedented visit by a panel of Supreme Court judges of the highest court in the land to Manipur to assess the ground situation. But I think on his way out, one of the judges, Justice Gawai, talked about being able to solve the problem in by recourse to constitutional means. Now he has not spelled it out as far as I can understand. So I would request the general to actually try and sort of spell it out for us.
Okay, thank you. Um, as you must be aware that one of the Supreme Court judges who happens to be Meitei, he was prevented from going to Kuki-dominated area of Churachandpur. So that created a bit of a question mark over the over the judiciary's impartiality, that kind of a thing. Anyway, the Supreme Court judge, whom uh, I have respect and I know him, he was very, very uh, pragmatic. He said, "No, no, I have got. It is just that I respect their reluctance to receive me, but time will tell. Time and slowly people will be together." That's what he said. Also, the Meitei Supreme Court judge. Now, to your question about the Constitution, actually, I firmly believe that everything has to be within the Constitution. There is no doubt about that. Everything, every issue can be settled within the Constitution. I'm a very firm believer in the constitutional part. We have the Article 371C of the Constitution, which is operational in Manipur, which provides for the kind of delegation of power or some kind of autonomy to the hill districts. But in the perception, it is my view that 371C hasn't worked. That is one of the reasons why there is so much of stress in politically and even in the socio-economic dimension as well. So probably Article 371C, when we enhance that to power, that can be, Article 371C by itself doesn't talk much, but then the Presidential Executive Order of 1972 gives the entire details of what does Article 371 mean. This presidential order was signed by Sri V.V. Giri when he was the president. So uh, since it hasn't worked, obviously we have to look at the means to accommodate people's aspirations, but not people's greed. I mean, there is a little difference in this. When you say, let me put it very, very frankly, in a small state, in fact, I must mention this, a very, very respected personality in the present government. I mean, very high ranking. He told me, General, what is your opinion about the smaller states? In fact, he was telling me that why don't we actually think on merging the states because it's not viable at all. It's not viable. if ever this video reaches him, he'll say that, you know, thank God I didn't take his name. But what I'm saying is that there is the issue about when you have 200 ethnic groups, can you divide notice India into 200 pieces of separate administration? That is the crux here. But the other alternative is delegate and delegation of power and certain things within the constitution. I think that is what possibly the Supreme, respected Honorable Supreme Court Judge Gavai might have meant, because the constitutional provisions are there. It's in the implementation that has gone not so satisfactory. And I'm also of the opinion it's time to look at a fresh arrangement as to how the state of Manipur can be kept, the integrity of the state can be kept within the constitution by looking at certain provisions only for developmental projects and other such aspirations, but not to divide further. You know, we cannot has in Manipur we cannot have 36, you know, separate administration when there are 36 ethnic groups. So there are issues on that, but I am for such mechanisms where the aspirations of the people should be addressed through the constitutional mechanism, by maybe through developmental and other delegation of power that we just spoke about. Thank you.
Right, sir. So very well said by you. In fact, Mr. Saikia, why according to you there been protest over a delimitation exercise in Manipur? If you would like to throw some light on that, sir, according to you.
Well, I mean, yes, I've also read about the protest over the delimitation exercise. I think primarily the mighty people of Manipur, they are expecting or wanting the NRC, or the National Register of Citizens, to take place. And as you know, the Supreme Court has also asked that the NRC process for not only Manipur, but Arunachal, Nagaland, and Assam should be completed within the next 4 months. Now, I think that's a very good suggestion. And I am totally with the people who are, well, at least I don't want to use the word protest, because I'm an eternal optimist and a pacifist. But the fact of the matter is the appeal to have an NRC in place before the delimitation of the constitution take place is very important. As you know, there are 60 assembly seats in Manipur, if I'm not mistaken. General will correct me.
Yeah.
And you see, the valley has the majority of the legislatures. That is, I think, 40. General, am I right? 40.
Yeah, 39.
Yes. But at the same time, you see, during the last elections in 2022, there have been interesting return from even the places like Churachandpur and Chandel, and people who are now warring with the Maite community. For instance, if my memory serves me right, from the Thobal district of Lilong, I think a Bengal legislator by way of Mohammed Abdul Nasir has been returned. Now there is one, and from Churachandpur district, you have BJP candidates from Singhat or some such place. And because I've just been there during the unrest 2-3 times, so my memory is failing me. But at the same time, you know, people like Mr. Haukip is there from Singhat, and of course the Kuki people's, I think the group or the alliance also has been able to send some people. I think Mr. Mandlim or someone is there. But the fact of the matter is, now the delimitation exercise, because of this ethnic strife, which is taken longer than necessary, has to be done. But as in Assam, we have seen that the delimitation exercise has created some fissures in the community because of a variety of reasons. Now, Manipur poses a very serious problem as far as the ethnic aspect is concerned, and the general has talked about the 200 odd ethnic groups, you can't certainly just talk about one day and use the razor and sort of carve up Manipur into so many, small units. That's not possible. So the delimitation exercise has to be actually preceded by, in my opinion, a correct and a very comprehensive NRC exercise. That is, I think, what a particular community, since it is the open source domain, the MITs are asking for, and I think it's a very, very valid way of going about the entire exercise. NRC first to determine who are the illegal migrants, like in Assam, have actually people of the magnitude which has been recorded and spoken about and documented in open source material domain and otherwise, like for the Chin people have actually entered from Myanmar illegally and occupied forest lands. Now, that is one of the reasons why the entire unrest actually erupted. And I think this is very valid to be able to begin at the beginning and end at the end, like Lewis Carroll says. So I think the NRC is a very, very valid demand made by a group of people. And once the NRC exercise is complete, and it has to be correct, it has to be comprehensively done with proper oversight by the government of India, by the judiciary, and then a delimitation of exercise can be undertaken. This is my view, because you see, I mean, we already have an ethnic strife, and now you have division within divisions. First it was Nagas and the Cookies many years ago. Now you have the Maitis and the Cookies, and now there are divisions and strife between, say, the Mars and the Cookies and other people. So you see, as Nirmal Nibedan used to say, the ethnic cauldron that the Northeast is, and I think at this point of time, Manipur sort of epitomizes this particular ailment or impasse or dilemma that the Indian state is facing, has to be very, very clinically, correctly, and comprehensively sort of undertaken.
Right, sir. So I remember, sir.
Yes, please.
Can I add something?
Sir, please.
Yeah, just to add to Mr. Saikia's point, why the delimitation was delayed in the first place in the state of Manipur in 2000, it has been delayed unduly, actually, about 20 years. The reason is simple, that in many districts, particularly in the hill areas, the growth rate was found to be 250% of the population, whereas the average of the valley district was about 35%. So unusual growth that was observed even by the Supreme Court, and that is how it was stayed in the first place. I mean, I'm talking about delimitation. Why it got delayed? Because of findings that in some areas there were more number of voters than the actual individuals by many times over. And obviously, the bogus voting was going on. So that is the reason why delimitation is delayed. Now that delimitation has been ordered again, it's a very, very welcome step. Even most of the CSOs in the valley or other hill areas support delimitation and support delimitation, even though the valley districts are likely to lose a few seats. They support, but then they are saying only after NRC, because we do not know, as happened in 2011 census, as it happened in 2001 census, the population growth was about 5 times the national average. 5 times the national average in some places. That is the reason why there is a need for the NRC. So just to add to what Jaideep has said. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely, sir. I agree with you. In fact, also, I remember a few years back, and Mr. Saikia at that time, if I remember correctly, he had given a novel idea of autonomy for the hill districts of Manipur, in fact. And I'm referring to Mr. Saikia's contention of the Manipur Hill Areas Autonomous District Council, in fact, bill, which was the council bill, HAC, which was not tabled. So, would you like to say anything on that, sir?
See, your
Why was
first
it not
part of the
tabled according to you,
question,
sir?
uh, can we repeat the question again?
Sure, sir, sure. So, if you, Mr. Saikia, if you could understand it, if you could, if it
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I think I heard it
was
right.
clear to you,
I think
the audio.
what Major Ali, if I may paraphrase him, sir, General Sir, I think he is referring to the online discussion which the Union Home Secretary, Mr. G.K. Pillai, you and I had. I think this was before the unrest broke out in Manipur, sir. And
Correct.
when three of us got together, and there was a mediator from United Kingdom who was chaperoning us, and there I particularly had talked about the Hill District Autonomous Council bill, which was not tabled. I think Major Ali wants to know, and that time I had called it Autonomy Plus, and then had given the example or instance of the
Okay,
way that the Boro territorial region in
okay,
Assam is smoothly working now. I mean,
understood.
I mean,
Understood.
in Assam also we face the same problem. I mean, they were
Okay,
asking for more autonomy, and the moment the Boro territorial region with some financial powers to be able to sort of be able to collect taxes, etc., and that is what I call it autonomy plus. But I still recall it was almost 2 years ago. But you had some apprehension
yeah,
that
yeah.
they will create a state
Okay,
within a state.
yeah. Uh, Thank you. Now I'm clear what Jaideep is saying. See, firstly, all these hill districts of Manipur are called autonomous district councils. Autonomous Hill District Councils. Firstly, under the Article 371C, which I mentioned in my first part of the reply earlier. But as I said, this doesn't appear to be working. That is the reason why, I mean, everybody knows that it's not working well. That is why there is a need to revisit this. So in that context, in it was in just around about 3 4 years back. I don't recollect. So Hill Area Committee proposed um, they proposed under a Hill Area Committee, Autonomous District Council Act committee. The committee has recommended. Why it was not tabled, I'll just give my view. My view, because my view is limited to what I hear, what I see, not not really. I may not have means I don't have the first-hand information from the from the legislators themselves. But what I saw in those bill is that it was a first was the Hill Secretariat, and with a separate chief secretary, separate chief secretary, and every department to have commissioner just like another state. So that was the apprehension I had mentioned that time, that if you have a chief secretary, you have a department with commissioner rank in another. It is something like a state within a state. This is what I remember having mentioned in that discussion. And they wanted separate police, separate secretariat, separate chief secretary, and all departments separate. So my recommendation that time would have been, uh, 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 in fact, my was that yes, empowerment of the district councils, whatever you call it, under any name, with certain amount of financial powers, with certain amount of a very highly executive and accountable structure. That much is fine. But when you have two chief secretaries, when you have two secretariats, then it gives a different dimension. That is possibly, that could have been possibly the reason why it was not tabled in the assembly that time. Does
If
it
I may just
answer your question?
interrupt,
Yeah, yeah.
if you remember, sir, I had also caveated my recommendation about Autonomy Plus in front of both you and Mr. G.K. Pillai, that we could, as Shakespeare says, rose by any other name would smell as sweet. So we don't need to actually call him or her a chief secretary or have commissioners. As long as you said, the crux of the issue was to actually devolve power by way of some financial, and administrative, opportunities by which the hill areas can develop on their own without having to look at Imphal all the time. As a matter of fact, I have recently written an article alongside you where I have spoken about how during this unrest there have been apprehensions and murmurs of misappropriation by certain, without naming names, certain groupings or certain aspects, where you say that the money which is meant for the hill districts have not reached. Now, that is one grouse, and naturally aspects like the Greater Nagaland concept and balkanization of Manipur, etc., were very interlinked with these aspects. That is why I had thought of this Autonomy Plus, but I had also said that this should be actually sent to a select committee of legislatures to rework or relook at the bill provisions before tabling it.
Right, sir. So you mentioned about the Greater Nagaland. So on that note, let's shift our focus slightly towards Nagaland a bit, sir. To Mr. Saikia, sir, I would like to ask you that, there have been talks that Mr. Isaac Moiwa is going to exit the scene very soon. And in fact, so who do you think would take the place of the chief of the NSC and IM after Mr. Isaac Moiwa, sir?
Well, the front runner seems to be another Tangkhul by way of Mr. V.S. Athim. But I can assure you, having been a student of national security and the Northeast for over 3 decades, that I can assure you that there would be a war of succession. There are people like Anthony Shimbre, Ponting Shimbre, and there are people who are... Yes, so these are the people, and they are people, Nagas who are in Myanmar, in the camps in Sobra tracks. So they also would want to, I think, history of India or any other dynasty, including the Mughal dynasty, is replete of, war of succession moment the big man exits the scene. So it's possible that there would be a war of succession. This is my apprehension. And I think the government of India should be prepared for such an eventuality. But as of now, I think Mr. V.S. Atem is the front runner, and I do not know whether Mr. Thengaleng Moiva has actually anointed him as the next General Secretary. But I can assure you that the political commissar, who is Anthony Shimre, who is incidentally very close to the Chinese, he was arrested from Nepal by our snatch teams of the RNW and the IB, and was in the apprehension, in incarceration for quite some time. He's also in the running, as you said, Punting Chambre and others. And the Chinese connection has to be very clinically understood and comprehended by our mandarins in New Delhi before we talk about a war of succession actually coming into play. As a matter of fact, I do not know why Delhi is delaying this particular aspect. In fact, I hear horror stories about how they're waiting for the exit of Mr. Moiva, thinking that, the exit of Mr. Moiva will actually solve matters. in my humble opinion, actually it will actually murky the waters even more. Because you see, for one reason, if I'm taking just a minute of your time, these people, Mr. Muiwa was a guerrilla. He went to Yunnan in 1967 on a 97-day trek. He knows the jungle. He knows the guerrilla warfare aspects. He's been in the jungles. He has been to the School of Diplomacy in then Peking, now Beijing. So he is a guerrilla warrior in some ways. And he also has been telling New Delhi that if you don't give us this, that, the other, the people, the second rung of leadership would sort of, expect much more. But people in the second rung of leadership, and I'm repeating, who have not been into the jungles, who have only enjoyed the peace dividends, will want a different sort of concession from New Delhi, which might be very difficult for New Delhi to sort of entertain. Muiwa, if he is pressed enough, would say, all right, we don't want a constitution. We don't even want a different flag. And only thing he is actually, as far as I'm concerned, worried about at this point of time is his village Somdal in Ukhrul. Now, if the Autonomy Plus provision, which I just spoke about, can be somehow smelted by New Delhi, and if the Maite, the valley people can be sort of, assured that their rights will not be sort of stepped on, I think, all would be well from both sides. New Delhi would have killed two birds with one stone. They would have taken care of the stalemate in the Naga talks by talking about Autonomy Plus for Ukhrul and the hill districts. I'm not talking about the cookies for Churachandpur and Chandel for the moment. I'm talking about Ukhrul. And at the same time, they would have ensured that the war of succession, which is going to actually unleash a different kind of a war altogether with Chinese and anti-India help, is avoided. So I think it's very important to nip aspects in the bud. We did not do that on the 3rd of May in Manipur last year. We have not done that in Bangladesh. We have not done that in Myanmar. I'm, as a student of security, Major Ali, extremely concerned about this insouciant, and I would say even incompetent and complicit behavior of New Delhi at this point of time.
Right.
I'm sorry, I'm being very straightforward to the point of being harsh. But the fact of the matter is, I am a patriotic Indian. I don't need to wear the tricolor on my sleeve, nor do I need to set Sare Jahasa to my collar tune. I know what I am, but the fact of the matter is, I'm extremely concerned as an Indian, as a Northeasterner, that this has come to pass, and people are simply being, mute bystanders to very sensitive aspects that is beleaguering this country of ours, Bharat, that is India.
Right. So you mean say with the peace in Nagaland. So how will peace? I mean, the ceasefire. It's going to continue. There are going to be talks. It's going to be resolved. What is your take, Mr. Saikia, on this, sir?
No, as I said, if you ask me for my personal opinion, constitution, the Yazabo is a no-no. Certainly, I will never expect a constitution within a constitution of India. That is what I salute by. But a flag, if it is subservient to the Indian tricolor, can be perhaps considered. Every club in this country has its own flag. And if it requires a constitutional amendment to give them a flag and assuage their sentiments, and I'm talking about a particular group of Nagas. I have been to Kohima on the invitation of the Assam Rifles in 2023, and I gave a lecture to the students in the famous Kangaroo Hall in Kohima, and I could discern that the students, the youth, were not particularly interested in even the flag. They were very happy with the territorial limits of present-day Nagaland. I do not think an Ao or an Angami per se is interested in in incorporating the Tangkhul-dominated areas or regions of Manipur. He or she is extremely happy. He just wants peace. She just wants progress. She looks at the rest of India as an opportunity, as a land of opportunity. And you know very well, sitting in Delhi, that the malls, the airports, the shops, the hospitality sector is full of people working daily hard for the living, which I think, so you cannot doubt the Indianness or the Indianhood of the people of Northeast. The only aspect that I am really concerned about is the delay. If this is the thinking of the people of Northeast, that enough is enough, we are content with what we are going to get. Now, constitution is something which the NSNIM is sort of barking about. They should be told in no clear terms that we are not going to give you a constitution. If you wish to go back to Oking or to the jungle, go back. Then the Indian army and the security forces will handle you the way we will handle. But if he wants to sort of talk and resolve the situation, I think, let's do a referendum and find out how many people actually want a separate constitution or a separate flag. And Nagalim, Greater Nagalim, by way of Assam, by way of Arunachal Pradesh and Manipur is certainly absolutely a no. I don't think there will be any balkanization of Northeast anymore. But as I said, if we are to assuage the sentiments of a particular community, whether it is a Kukis or whether it is a Tangkuls, we can certainly, as a magnanimous country, think about giving autonomy plus, period.
Right. Let's hear General Konsam Ali Singh, sir. So, what's your take on the same thing, sir? I mean, about the ceasefire in
Yeah.
Nagaland and as what Mr. Saikia said just now, sir.
See, I'm more concerned about, as it is, we have a national security issue in the making in the borderlands, in the Myanmar. In this region is the power games, balance of power being played out against, three powers, the West, India, and China. So in that, Northeast India virtually becomes a battleground. So I would like to connect this. Whatever is happening, whether you spoke about NSC and IM leadership after Muiva, or we discussed about the Manipur issue, or all these are linked with the national security paradigm because of the sensitivity, because the border areas, because of whatever historical reasons or whatever legacy that we have inherited. So therefore, it's my first issue will be that, as Jaideep has brought out, that a national security aspect needs to be dealt with little more clearly and very, very thoroughly, addressed, which at least we are not, which is, I'm sure that people who are doing, who are supposed to be doing this are at it. But the delay, any delay in planning or even executing certain futuristic, futuristic kind of problem-solving mechanisms will only be at our cost. So the issue of NACN IM is now, earlier it used to be a Naga problem. In fact, huge this, but now it is more or less like a NACN IM issue. Limited to the Tangkhul leadership of Manipur. So we have to address the concerns, and also we have to address the aspirations of the people who have joined NSNIM. I mean, leadership is almost the entire leadership, majority of leadership are from Manipur. So we have to look at it that way, and there can be a very serious, succession issue. Who is the NSNIM? How is it going to play out after Muiva is a very, very serious issue that which I also feel. And connected with the national security threat that is in the making in our region is all the more reason that we must be totally ahead of it. We must be totally ready for such an eventuality in the security circles. And to how to solve it, as I said earlier, 371C did not work. The autonomy, what we call as autonomous district councils, it's time to greater emphasis on how to make it work. In fact, in 2000, in the year 1997 or 1998, if I recollect, the Manipur Assembly had agreed to even some sort of sixth schedule with local adjustment. That is the quote unquote local adjustment. That we could even think on those lines, and then bring out a comprehensive long-term solution, not patchworks that people are trying to do, patchworks here and there, pay money there, divide, rule. All they will not work in the long term. So therefore, this is what I also, I have, to your question, this is my answer.
Right, sir. Right, sir. Sir, I want to ask, in fact, Mr. Saikia, since he being a civilian, यहाँ पे जनरल साहब हैं और हम फौज में हमने we don the uniform. But I would like to know about your view on the, as a civilian, on the Armed Forces Special Power Act, sir, in the region. And when you talk about Dibrugarh, particularly Dibrugarh, Tinsukia, Dinjan, that region particularly, and what is the rationale? Now, I also want to ask you, Mr. Saikia, since you come from Assam, is Alpha no longer active in Assam, sir?
Well, Alpha Independent is active in the sense it is inactively active. Very recently, there was a proposal to celebrate Bihar Divas in Assam. And as you know, the Upper Assam districts of Assam, particularly Tinsukia, etc., are, populous with a lot of people from Bihar. And they are doing a lot for the people of Assam by way of their, laboring capabilities. But Alpha gave a call for the boycott of this, not only boycott, to stop the Bihar Divas, and for some reason or the other, which is absolutely puzzling to me, the government of Assam actually cancelled the Bihar Divas. But in the same breath, very recently, the Assam cabinet, headed by the Chief Minister, has asked for the repeal of the Armed Forces Special Powers Act from Dibrugarh. Now, naturally, he would have done it because he realizes that the insurgency, which was at its height a couple of years ago, have naturally disappeared, except, as you said, this so-called dhamkis and a little bit of, tantrums, which Pareshpura, which is far removed from the realities of Assam, actually are no longer relevant inside Assam. But this fact that, Assam government bent to the diktat or the, call for not having the Bihar Divas, to me was a show of weakness. I really thought that if you had defeated the Alpha, which you have, the Indian Army, and some of us who were involved in the process got together and defeated the Alpha. It is a bit a divided house now. There's a Protoc Alpha which is talking to the government of India, and there is an Alpha Independent with a ragtag band sitting in Sangaing division somewhere, and Paresh Burua, a man who is suffering from acute renal disease, is sitting in Yunnan, chaperoned by the Ministry of State Security of China, has no meaning inside Assam. As a matter of fact, I don't understand as to why we don't call his bluff. Long ago, I had given a lecture in the 3 Corps, and when I spoke, somebody asked me, don't you think that Alpha is actually taking care of the Assamese culture by talking about, non-ingress of Hindi culture and Hindi songs, etc. Into Assam. This was in Fokor. I still remember I was a guest lecture way back in 2001. I simply answered in a very short way. I'll tell you that I said, does Paresh Vora know what Paresh means? His own name means. Paresh means Ram, Pareshuram of Darsha Now, if he is so concerned about the non-ingress of Hindi culture, he should actually first give up his name, which he has taken from an immortal Lord who is adored and worshipped throughout India, who has been crowned by our Prime Minister in Ayodhya. Now, Ayodhya doesn't come within the expanse of his independent Assam or his dream for an independent Assam. Yet, he has not given up his own name. How hypocritical can Paresh Vora be? So, my contention was that to the officer who asked me in Fokor as to why isn't Paresh Vora doing the right thing by actually asking for a ban of Hindi music and Hindi culture ingress to Assam. I said, first let him give up his own name. If he knows, if he knows the meaning of his own name, then he is not going to talk about Ram and Parashuram of the Dashavatar, which is an integral part of the great Indian culture. I will not say Hindu culture, Indian culture that we in Assam and we in Manipur also, I mean, General Himalay Singh also knows about this much better than I do, that we are proud and we worship and we adore. And we should not behave like cowards and bend our minds before insolent, unworthy, beings like Paresh Barua and given to, such diktats like stopping Hindi music, Hindi culture, Bihar Divas, etc., etc. I might be anything else, but I'm not a coward. I stay unguarded and I will continue to be a patriotic Indian to the last breath of my life.
Right, Ms. Saikia, also you mentioned about, that you're Indian. That's a very, very good thing that I love your patriotism and the zeal, sir. So the unrest in Myanmar, it still continues, in fact, the military junta and the coup and the aftermath. So would it continue to have a bearing on Manipur, sir? Do you think so?
Oh, yes, certainly. If I may sort of, rewind a bit and talk about what General said about Myanmar and border management and national security, these things are intertwined. As long as unrest prevails in Myanmar, as a matter of fact, even before the coup of 2nd February 2021, I think, we had IIG or Indian Insurgent Group camps in Myanmar, in Sagaing Division, in places like Taka, etc., which is west of the Chingwin River and others. Now, why have the governor's call, Mr. Bhalla's call for a depositing of arms actually not borne fruit? It is my contention, without actually having gone to Manipur at this point of time, I have been there a couple of times after the unrest broke out, is because these guns, these important urban guerrilla armaments have been spirited away across to the neat 3 clusters that make up the earlier Corcom and now the G5, the group of 5, which is headed by people like UNRF, Koirang, the PLA Manipur, etc., etc. Earlier they were known as a coordination committee or Corcom. Now they've gone back to where they come from. So where is this question of deposition of arms? Yes, some deposition of arms are concerned, and I cannot naturally hazard a blasphemous wording by saying that, the arms which have been deposited at the call of the governor are all fake. But some observers actually have said that this is actually a psychological operation. The real arms continue to be at large and across the border. So Myanmar, with its unrest, with the drone wars, etc. Otherwise, how do you explain the fact that drones have actually entered Manipur in a big way in the past? And there have now, of course, been called, and I have talked about it publicly, that I think illegal drones should be banned from the airspace. They should be shot down summarily. So Myanmar will continue to be a thorn in the flesh for a number of reasons, including economic, may I say, Major Ali. Our ambitious Act East policy has gone for a 6 as a result of the unrest in Myanmar. When I visited Manipur and I went to the border, I found the gates, the iron gates, which is left all the way to More and beyond, to the seamless causeway to the Pacific. Found them shut. It was because of COVID, but the unrest sort of cemented the absolute closure. So you are not going anywhere. So where is the economy of the Northeast, which had been so ambitiously planned, going? Now we have Bangladesh on our hands. Lieutenant General Arun Sani and I had written an article in the Indian Express where he said, okay, since Myanmar has closed its borders, let us look south. But I think we are in a very interesting phase, if I were to say so, our country. And Bangladesh too have actually let us down in many ways, and one, including, of course, rewriting the history of the brave Indian soldiers who sacrificed their lives in 1971.
Right. So I would like to ask General Konsam Ali Singh, sir. So we had people who are not very, very familiar with the northeast part of India earlier, particularly Manipur. And in fact, after 3rd May 2023, in fact, it's been in the news and people have come to know of it. And for the wrong reason, I wish it was for a good reason, in fact, because there was a polo tournament, international polo tournament, there was a seminar with India. A lot of good things earlier which had taken place. Similarly, we were talking about the 200 different ethnic groups over there. So again, when you talk about people have not heard of Mars, for example, I mean, they are a fine community, fine tribe, in fact. But of late, we've heard the entry of Mars. They are also in the violence, in fact. They are entering the fray. Now, what, according to you, motivated them? I mean, they come under the cookie umbrella for a lot of reasons, sir.
I think, Major Ali, it's an extremely important issue that we have raised. I will like to, the borderlands of Northeast India, particularly with Myanmar, is the ethnicity spans across international boundary. In other parts also we have, I mean, IB with even in Arunachal or even in Jammu Kashmir, the ethnicity spans across international, both sides of the international border. Before I answer this question of yours, let me clarify your question about that. How will the unrest in Myanmar impact? In Myanmar, the two sides, the junta and the PDF, are being supported by different armed groups from Manipur itself. That is number one. Number two, you cannot distinguish between a militant group in Myanmar who is camping in Manipur. Once they cross into Manipur, they will say that we are from Burma. When they go to Burma, they'll say we are from Manipur. So it's a terrible kind of a border management which is existing. In fact, hardly any border management. That is one of the roots of this issue also. So therefore, the unrest in Myanmar is closely, in fact, when I replied to the national security threat in the making, all this I didn't specify in greater detail because these are real life situations where insurgent group of one community is supporting the junta and the other community is supporting the PDF. Then how does it play out in Manipur? Obviously, there will be fighting here as much as there. So this is the connectivity. Regarding your the second question about there are many groups within the Kuki, Jo, Chin, whatever group we are talking about. Just as in Nagaland, you have served in Nagaland, there are 16 tribes which have no similar language or nothing in common except the word Naga. And all the, either we call it Naga or Meitei or a Chin or a Mizo, all of them derive from the Tibeto-Burmese group of language. All of them claim to their origin from sometimes in Yunnan or Upper Chinwin Valley or Irrawaddy. So therefore there is that. Now politically what has happened is identities in the making, identity construction. That's what Muiva did. That, Naga limb for Christ. Otherwise, they have to have some symbol to unify. Similarly, even Meiteis are supposed to be, 7 clans. In Kuki Jo, in fact, if you see certain words, there are so many common words between Manipuri language and Jomi language. When I say Jomi, the Jo language, or Burmese language for that matter, or even Tibetan. So, but what is happening now is identity construction for political purpose. So within the Kuki, that is why you find Kuki Jo Council. Then suddenly there is another name coming up because of different. Why do you think there are 26 groups under suspension of operation? Because of the tribal affinities, because of the ethnicity, because of different kind of a construct. Like we have had Kuki Paite clashes, Kuki Mar clashes in the past. More than 200 people killed. That time there was no social media. Kuki Naga, there's Meitei.
97.
Yeah, 97. So what happens is, so when you are dealing with ethnicity issues, it's a very complex kind of a thing. So you construct an identity with a common goal, we, they. That's how you construct. So that is that construction, reconstruction, dying. You heard so many people fighting in Sorachandpur a few days back. That is because one doesn't want to be under somebody's umbrella and things like that. So all this is going on at the same time all over, almost in the borderlands of Northeast India with Myanmar. That explains why there is this remaking, making, and breaking of various groups.
Right.
Not only political ideologies, but from their ethnic identity issues as well. I hope at least some kind of a reply has been given. Otherwise, it's a
Of
very
course.
long discussion. Yeah.
Sir. So, Mr. Saikia, do you think that the security forces, they have been able to comprehend the problem of Manipur, Nagaland, and Southern National Pradesh? If so, why is there continuing impasse still in Manipur, especially in Manipur, in fact, for that matter?
Major Ali, this is a very sensitive question, rather a very difficult one. As both General Himalay and you would probably know that I was trained to be a soldier. It's another matter that I got medically unfit after having completed the UPSC written examination and the Services Selection Board in Bhopal, but I was medically unfit. So I am half a Fauji, and my heart laden with loyalty and patriotism for that noble force. But when you ask me this question about Manipur and Nagaland, I'm afraid, yes, I have known the military leadership for a very, very long time, almost for the last 3 decades or so, with both in 4 Corps or in 3 Corps or in the Eastern Command or such other theaters. People like Lieutenant General K. Himalay Singh are very rare. Although he served and commanded his corps in Nagrota, I think, and later on was a commandant in the School of Infantry, where I visited him to give a lecture. But people like him, despite the fact that he is a senior army general, chose to come back to Manipur and learn and work for the people of Manipur. And sometimes when people accuse him of being a Maite, and taking the mighty way in important discussion like the way we are having. Nobody is sadder than I, because I know him for a long time, since 2008, when I first met him in the Indian Habitat Center, when he came to witness the inauguration of my book by B.G. Varghese. The National Security Advisor, General Leader, General Bopana and others all were in attendance, and so was he. General Ved Malik were also there. So when people accuse people like General Himalay Singh of being biased towards a particular denomination from which he belongs, well, he is a Maite. There is no two words about that. One feels bad. But since you have asked me a pointed question about the military leadership comprehending Manipur and Nagaland at this point of time, especially as it is going through a period of grave crisis, I would say the comprehension is almost nil. I'm sorry to have to say this, because as I said, I began by saying I'm half a Fauji. If the Indian Army, especially the leadership which is sitting in Fort William at this point of time, would have understood the imperatives of how these aspects which General Himalay himself has spelled out about the ethnic cauldron and others, took a few hours off and read a few books. Have they heard of Nirmal Nibedan? Have the Eastern Army Commander heard of Nirmal Nibedan? I'm sorry to have to be able to be so straightforward, but since you asked me a question, and this is a time of crisis, I think, serving 2 years in a particular helm of affairs and not understanding the mores and the minds of the people of a particular place that you're expected to govern and control is almost tantamount to being a crime. So I do not think the comprehension is complete. Yes, there have been very well-meaning people, and I don't want to name them.
So
but the fact of the matter is, at this point of time,
I'm sure the Army Commander.
Sorry?
I'm sure the Army Commander.
No. I'm not taking any names, Major Ali. But if I were to be truthful to you, there could be people who could have sat by Lieutenant General K. Himalay Singh's feet and understood the deeper intricacies of what is actually wrong. You do not need to actually just sit there and come and hector down to a particular place and meet with your officers and do. That's it. That's exactly what you've done. Do the Indian Army people sitting in Fort William, the leadership, know what Mera Paibis are all about? Do they know what is the history of the Arambai Tangol? Do they know what the suspension of Operation Group was all about? I myself was the only civilian who attended the annual Assam Rifles Commanders Conference in Shillong in 2007. And I was the only one who said that this is not a right institutionally worked out mechanism. Shivraj Patil was the Union Home Minister. He attended that rainy Shillong day, I still remember. I was the only civilian. Unfortunately, today's military leadership sitting in Fort William have no understanding and no comprehension about what's happening in Manipur. Sorry? I'm sorry?
You went to Shillong in 2007. You said you went to Shillong. You said you went to Shillong in 2007.
Yes.
P.J. Dhillon must have been the DG Assam Rifle that time, sir.
Yes. And that time Colonel VPS Kaushik was a Colonel General Staff who introduced me. I was the only civilian who gave a presentation, and I said the Sioux groups, which is a non-institutional arrangement between the Assam Rifles in the Indian Army and the Kuki groups, was the wrong thing. It was only after I intervened that the Ministry of Home Affairs actually institutionalized and formalized it. But the fact of the matter is, people sitting, and I repeat, at the peril of actually offending people. But today's day, today's era or today's period in this country is actually one of pralay. And I'm sorry, I do not care about my own health or prosperity any longer. I'm worried only about this country, this land which gave me birth, the earth which gave me birth. People in the Fort William will go away tomorrow, but he has not been able to take off time to read a couple of books or sit by people like Lieutenant General K. Himalay Singh to understand, as I said, the deeper intricacies which could have solved this problem or nipped the problem right in the bud. But yes, there have been people, and I don't want to take names at all, but I'm simply saying, since you asked me a pointed question, do you think that they have been able, otherwise this problem would have been solved? But it is adding layers to layers again and again, and it's only because of the inability, the ineptness, and most importantly, the refusal to learn. They feel that they are in Fort William only for 2 years and that is it. And it'll never happen. Then they'll go and become something else, or maybe go back to wherever they come from, leaving a vast array of people dying. And I have been to relief camps. I have been to relief camps in Chandpur. I have been to relief camps in Chandpur. I have been to relief camps in Chandpur, and I've seen the kind of squalor.
Jaideep, Jaideep is my view is actually is Major Shah on Major Ali. I think Ali is. Are you online, Major Ali?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Very much. Sir. We can hear you, sir.
Yeah. Saikia is a true nationalist, but Saikia, I must say that people do try to understand things, and people from Kolkata, they have interacted with me on various occasions. But I feel that the larger issue of solving, or at least the way forward, will emanate from political directive and at a national level, because military is only an instrument, is one of the instruments, actually, major instrument of enforcing and making sure that internal security and the external threats are controlled. So to that extent, army alone is not responsible, and I don't think they are. They have the mechanism, or they have the power to solve such kind of ethnic crisis. It has to be a little beyond from towards the political and executive level. So, having said that, we really appreciate your nationalistic mind, which I know you. I know you. Thank you very much for your kind words as well. And Major Ali, I'm having been on ground, just as particularly the difficult situation that units are operating is totally different from Jammu Kashmir or any other place that the military would have been. In any case, our army's deployment is minuscule, actually. It is the major chunk in fact, to be precise, army columns in Manipur are just about 28, while the CAPF are nearly 10 times, about 285 or 84. So actually, major chunk, though it is a strike element, will remain there of the army. So it's a larger game plan, larger issue at hand. It's a very complex issue which the army alone cannot, is not actually mandated to address this alone. This is what I thought. I appreciate.
I'll just take 1 minute, sir.
Yeah.
I'll just take 1 minute with your permission, Mr. Major Ali.
Yeah.
Since there is something called the Armed Forces Special Powers Act, which actually permits army men to behave in a particular way. By the way, let me caveat by saying I have gone out on many patrols with Assam Rifles, and I salute them again and again and again. I'm not talking about the men. I'm talking about the leadership here, sir. I'm making a very important distinction between the military leadership, which is in touch with the political leadership. They are the ones who will actually ascertain and actually ensure that the right aspect is the same. When a particular senior military leader gives his order, the rifleman has nothing to say, simply saying, yes, saab, Jai Hind saab, kar denge saab, ho jayenge saab. That is all. All I am trying to say is that the India of the present is going through a catharsis. It needs course correction. And one of the important pillars of this new India that I am envisaging as an old man is that the military leadership is slowly beginning to actually abdicate its responsibility of trying to learn about the milieu within which it is expected to work and deliver. New Delhi, you are right, ordains, but it is expected of a military leader who is given the order that get control back into Manipur or Nagaland or Assam or South Arunachal Pradesh. Unless he understands the sentiments of the people, the British Indian Army knew better. I have read history to an extent to be able to say that. And there have been Indian Army generals in the past who have actually gone through gazettes and gazettes before he taking over, before understanding this thing. This slow coach and this patchwork thing which you talked about doesn't work any longer, sir. And I am saying that I have known army officers for a very long time. People like Lieutenant General S.K. Sinha, who was the governor of Assam, do not exist anymore, unfortunately. People like General Nanavati, who were also the people in the 3 Corps, do not exist anymore. And I'm saying because they are now far away. And I don't want to name names. I'm only using this opportunity to say that I sense a sense of absolute कि हमें बस 2 दिन रहना है, अभी जाना है यहाँ, जो होगा होगा, यहाँ से दूर चले जाएंगे. Now that attitude is not helping the poor person in the relief camp which I saw in Churachandpur. A mother could not lactate to feed her 3-month-old son, and I cried when I went to the relief camp. But I am an ordinary beggar. What can I do? But the person who is in the helm of the military leadership, having ordered to actually restore peace and order in a land which is torn asunder by, yes, ethnic strife, can do his bit. But he has simply turned his head by saying, "Ye hame to yahan 2 saal rehna hai."
Right, sir. So, lastly, I mean, we have taken a lot of time, in fact, of all of us. I would like to ask General Konsam Himalay Singh, sir. So, I want to ask you about Bangladesh. Is it getting closer to India's adversaries such as China and Pakistan? What needs to be done in this case, sir?
Major Ali, I think can I redirect this question to Jaideep, because he is thickly into this.
Most certainly, sir. Most certainly.
Yeah. Jaideep, may I request you to answer this before?
Well, yes. I mean, I have some understanding of Bangladesh, sir, and I've been writing and trying to research about it. I've been there I've been part of the track 2 with Bangladesh on 2 occasions, 2007 and 2016. And I feel that the Indian state has lost its plot completely. A democratically elected leader, never mind what she had done to her people by way of corruption, etc., etc. That is something else for the people of Bangladesh who have decided. We welcome her. I'm just talking about the president. We welcome her and give her asylum within quotes. And then on the 26th, just today is the 30th, 26th of March, on the day of liberation, we write a letter to the illegitimate leader of a dispensation in Dhaka, almost congratulating him for what he has done to our country in the last 8 months. The last 8 months has been nothing but scorn, abuse, anti-India statements, sentiments, atrocities against the minorities, Hindus, Buddhists, Christians, and now they're cozying up to the Chinese. Even as I speak, I think Mohammed Yunus, the illegitimate leader, self-anointed leader, or propped up leader by a cabal of students who were backed by the Jamaat-e-Islami and such other Islamist radical groups, are cozying up to the Chinese and working out plans not only for development militarily and otherwise of Bangladesh, but coming close to the chicken's neck. And they're talking about the Teesta waters, which we had actually for some reason or the other not being able to solve because of political dilemma which we had faced at that point of time. So unless we take hard steps, sir, I think we are a lost nation. We have lost the entire neighborhood, and the neighborhood first policy, which we have been sort of tom-tomming for a long time now, is now something which is only in paper. And as a citizen of India, as a taxpayer who pays his taxes despite his poverty, in a loyal manner, I feel extremely angry, sad, and morose that we have lost a friend and an ally, and now have forgotten the memories of the people who lost their lives defending and liberating a country in 1971.
So there was a network glitch. So sorry, my thing got logged out. Right, sir. It's been such a wonderful discussion, and I think in general, Konsam Himalay Singh's network, I think it's still out. But Mr. Saikia, before I let you go, any last message you would like to throw out in the universe, sir?
Well, the universe is something I have not been able to fathom, but the most important question I would like to sort of, well, message or otherwise I would like to give to my people is that this is a time to actually sit back, introspect, retrospect, and understand how we can actually bring about peace and prosperity to this land. Yes, there are aberrations. There are people who have let us down. And why they have let us down is not the important question. How we can actually give real fodder to the people who are coming and becoming new leaders tomorrow, so that they now understand the malaise which has set in, so that they do not make the same mistakes which have been made by the present set of crop of people who were mandated to govern us. That is the most important thing. So I think the real responsibility lies on the guardians, on the parents, on the teachers, on the gurus that we actually revere in our country as almost gods. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Deva, Maheshwara. So that is the only message I can give to the people. I am at my fag end of my life, but the fact of the matter is, when I see only disaster everywhere writ and it is multiplying by the day, I can only appeal to the people that first, of course, there's no question of getting dejected or distressed or depressed or morose. It is a question of actually sitting back, taking stock of the situation, retrospecting, introspecting, and try and work out solutions for a course correction exercise as soon as possible.
Right, sir. Sir, General Himalay Singh, any last message you'd like to throw to the universe, sir, before I let you?
I can just tell you what comes to my mind immediately is that good governance is an utopia actually anywhere in the world. But in the case of Northeast India, I won't say in all places, but most of the places in Northeast India, good governance or transparent governance is the key to integration, key to peace and prosperity. That's what my experience in the last about 9 years of my retired life I have seen in Northeast India. Good governance with transparency, if that is followed to some extent, or if that is taken to a little higher state, I think most of the issues of the Northeast India can be addressed.
Right, sir. So
May I say one last thing, Major Ali?
Yes, Mr. Saikia, please, sir.
And please don't think that I'm saying this because you are taking my interview or a senior personage like General Himalay Singh, who I know very well. We have written articles together. We have spoken in the same fora together. So my respect for him is endless. But I want to tell your viewers about you. You have tirelessly, at least for the last so many years that I have known. First of all, you've been an able army man yourself. Your father has been the GOC 3 Corps. But at apart, I see in you the personality, the leadership quality, which I was just talking about in a moment ago. And you have the reach and range, unlike me, to be able to go and actually educate the youth of this country, particularly the states of Nagaland and Manipur, who you love so dearly and you are so passionate about. The government of the day could have done very well by appointing you to a position by which you have access to the youth of these two states, at least Manipur and Nagaland, where you have served. You know the language, you know the ethos. And when I was accusing the military leadership in Fort William, in the same breath I say, I wish a person like Major Mohammed Ali Shah were there to sort of, ordain and direct the direction which the people of the forces should have taken. But that has not been so. But it's a fond hope that I will continue to sort of harbor the person of your merit, of your integrity, and certainly your able personality should actually be harnessed by this government, by the government of India. And you have done shows untiringly despite many odds. I know that for a fact. And I salute you for that. And I'm telling you that my fond wish is certainly that a person of your ability should not be wasted in simply taking online interviews. And of course, that's a good thing you've done, showcasing people like Himalay to the rest of the country and the nation. But at the same time, I feel, hands don't clap alone. I think the government, the powers that be, should actually harness your ability to the best of their ability, and actually then we will see the difference. And I can assure you, on the occasion of the Eid of Holy Eid, I pray to the Almighty that, my wish comes true. Ameen.
That's very
Eid
kind of
Mubarak,
you, sir.
Eid
That's very
Mubarak.
kind and generous of you to say that, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. सर मगर आपने इतना कुछ कह दिया, बहुत बड़ी बात कर दी आपने, शुक्रिया बहुत बहुत। अब डर लग रहा है सर, जनरल साहब के आगे आपने मेरे साहब को ये बोला तो अब डर लग रहा है।
नहीं, मैं सच्चा दिल से बोल रहा हूँ, भाई मुबारक ईद के दिन से पहले मुझे ये गुनाह मुझसे नहीं होगा। और जब मुझे अभी अवसर मिला है कि सबके सामने और जनरल साहब के सामने तो है ही है, तो फिर आपका ये हमारा देश के जो लोग हैं उनको बताना चाहिए कि मेजर मोहम्मद अली शाह, मैं एक मिसाल के तौर पे आपका नाम रोक रहा हूँ, शायद और भी कोई लोग ऐसे हैं जो चुपके से या मैंने साइलेंटली काम कर रहे हैं, पर मुझे आपके बारे में मुझे ज्ञान है, इसलिए मैं बोल रहा हूं कि हमारा हुकूमत, हमारा सरकार आपको इस्तेमाल करके एटलीस्ट मणिपुर नागालैंड के थोड़ा सा सुधार करने के लिए एक अवसर उनको आपको देना चाहिए। और ये मुबारक ईद के दिन के सामने अल्लाह ताला के नाम लेके मैं यही कह रहा हूं कि हे भगवान, हे ईश्वर, हे अल्लाह, ये थोड़ा मेरा ये प्रार्थना स्वीकार कीजिए।
थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू वेरी मच सर। जेल साहब को देखिए, मेरे को आई एम प्लेइंग हाइडिंग समवेयर।
No, you deserve it,
No.
yeah
Sir, sincerely thank you so much for your time, sir. It's been such a pleasure and so wonderful, sir, being in conversation with you, and so enlightening and so educative, sir. Thank you very much, sir. आप दोनों ने वक्त निकाला, sir. General Himalay Singh, sir, and Mr. Jaideep Saikia. Thank you very much, sir. Jai Hind, sir.
Thank you, Jai Hind.
Sir. Just going